Hello, Ethereum. I'm Dr. Jagtap, and I'm here to share some ideas about decentralizing science and bootstrapping a human node network. And we can do this by learning about the neuroscience of Ethereum itself.
Because it turns out that the Ethereum network and human brain networks are very identical in numerous ways. For starters, structurally, both systems are heavily and intricately interconnected. Functionally, both systems output live feeds continuously. In Ethereum, the most apparent one is the price action. Similarly, the human brain outputs EEG, or electroencephalography feeds, continuously. In this example, the EEG output above correlates with pre-ictal activity, and that is brain activity leading up to a seizure, which is known as the ictal state. Each feed is a signature of aggregate underlying network activity. On Ethereum, these price feeds, which are data feeds, are secured by projects like Chainlink, and in the nervous system, these feeds can be secured by EEG electrodes. Turns out, the mechanism through which these price feeds are generated is also very similar in both networks. In both networks, nodes are configured to exchange value trustlessly without the need for intermediaries. On Ethereum, ETH is tokenized to facilitate trustless value exchange, and in the nervous system, neurotransmitters are tokenized for this purpose. As a result, ETH has grown to exhibit the characteristics of moneyness. We have medium of exchange, unit of account, and store of value, because it's been tokenized on the network. Similarly, neurotransmitters also exhibit moneyness. They function as a unit of account, a medium of exchange, and a store of value in the nervous system. Just like there is an EIP 1559 mechanism that permanently removes ETH from circulation with each transaction, the nervous system similarly removes tokens, or neurotransmitters in this case, following each transaction as well. There are so many overlapping features that we might even want to ask what is different. The point here was to introduce a very high-level overview, because the rabbit holes can be deep, so we will cover this elsewhere. The fundamental principle here is this: trustless value exchange is coupled with downstream network activity. On Ethereum, ETH transactions are coupled with smart contract execution in the EVM. In the nervous system, neurotransmitter transactions are coupled with intracellular second messenger systems and a host of other cascades. This property promotes and facilitates the hierarchical organization of neurons into brain regions and brain regions into networks. On Ethereum, smart contracts unlock new degrees of freedom and enable the network to become more than just a settlement layer. This would be contrasted with Bitcoin, where by design, trustless value exchange is the primary feature. If Ethereum were a life form, where it definitely can be argued, this would resemble a gain-of-function change in a system's ability to self-organize and spontaneously order into a hierarchical network, as we've come to witness the rise of DeFi as an example. So that means this is a very important property for a system to emulate and model itself after. It promotes bottom-up hierarchical organization in a decentralized manner, while value tends to circulate and remain within the system. In contrast, top-down centralized hierarchical organization creates systems which ultimately end up extracting value from most participants, as we've come to learn firsthand with our legacy systems. So this is where the world can learn from the neuroscience of Ethereum, particularly through the framework of network modeling in systems neuroscience. One such framework is called dynamic causal modeling. Very simplistically, nodes in a network are modeled to possess two kinds of connections: extrinsic connections from one node to another, so this would be A12 as the connection is going from node 1 to node 2, while this would be the reverse. And a node can have intrinsic connections unto itself. And it really is unto itself because intrinsic connections are inhibitory. On the other hand, extrinsic connections can be excitatory or inhibitory. The take-home point here is that the inhibitory self-connection ultimately governs each node's mean level of activity, denoted by Z1 or Z2. So self-inhibition is important for preventing runaway positive feedback loops. On Ethereum, when nodes are transacting or interacting with each other, the validating node can be trusted to secure and facilitate this transaction because a baseline degree of negative self-connectivity is imposed by the consensus algorithm. The opposite is true with the legacy systems, which are top-down. There is no consensus algorithm, so there's no self-inhibition. Because the legacy system uses centralized ledgers with double entry accounting, there is simply no incentive to not forge transactions unless you smell an audit coming, because that is required for verification. On Ethereum, transactions are verified in real time by virtue of distributed ledgers and triple entry accounting. And so the outcome is one of net value extraction at the micro level, which results in macro value extraction as well. And so we see 24.99 APR credit card interest rates, as that is 0.01% below the legal threshold of usury, and such egregious forms of value extraction are present in every legacy system. Have you ever tried to cancel a flight to obtain a refund booked with reward points? Probably cost you an hour of your time as you were sent from one entity to another. It's far worse in our healthcare systems. Every patient-physician interaction is controlled by the health insurance companies. And so physicians like myself are forced to play stupid games, which entails getting prior authorizations, doing peer-to-peer reviews, and waiting up to 30 days only to hear back that the life-changing treatments my patients need has been rejected, such as this letter declining coverage for the treatment of obsessive-compulsive disorder with cutting-edge transcranial magnetic stimulation. The statement that TMS is not a proven treatment for OCD, as stated here, is patently false, as evidenced by this press release from the Journal of American Medical Association from 2018. Instead of optimizing the physician's ability to help patients, insurance companies have figured out that it's far more profitable to make it a burden. And the result is a negative outcome for everybody except the value extracting entity, the health insurance company in this case. These systems are controlled by gatekeeping entities that operate only to maximize their own profits at the expense of everyone else's. Applied to academia. As scientists report findings to the world, the journal or the publishing entity extracts value in the process of publishing these findings. Society then suffers and loses because the entity biases the publication of positive results. There's also a severe dearth of reproducibility in academia, and above all, there is no consensus on truth. This must be addressed because science is fundamentally about the discovery of truth. And this can be addressed because smart contracts are about trustless verification of events. For example, this transaction shows how someone added liquidity. Clicking on the hash lets us see exactly what happened underneath. About $2,900 worth of value was transferred from that someone's wallet into a volatile automated market maker liquidity pool. So if this was done from a self-custodial wallet, we can at the very least conclude that somebody was doing the work of typing or pushing buttons on some computing device, meaning this was the labor exerted to provide capital by the end user in exchange for a claim on trading fees. The market maker or stockbroker's job of verifying prices and settling trades was effectively replaced by the volatile automated market maker smart contract. Similarly, when such patterns are captured via EEG, it can be reasonably concluded that it resulted from the behavior of sleeping. Could we convert sleep into labor and EEG feeds into capital? Yes, we can, but only on Ethereum. Funding this grant will bring us closer to enable the possibility of such an outlandish idea, because this will require coordination, and not just between Web3 individuals, but also DAOs, as that can help us to automate the conversion of data tokens into capital assets in DeFi for yield. DeSci and data DAOs for guiding market economies would also be helpful. We will need sovereign decentralized identities, and perhaps most importantly, the participation of our community members on layer 0 to convert the complex process of earning DeFi yield into something as simple as equipping a wearable device to passively earn yield while engaging in healthy behaviors like sleeping. By taking the process of collecting sleep data, which is done mainly in sleep labs, and democratizing it with smart contracts so that every individual can source truth from the world for science, we can truly decentralize science. This is essentially what the nervous system does. The mechanism of sourcing truth from the world is distributed across 86 billion neurons as we continuously process information coming in through the 5 senses. Part of what makes the nervous system so effective and efficient is the observation that every node participates in the economy of neurotransmitters. Every neuron is configured to use neurotransmitters for its moneyness, including as a store of value. And this is made possible also because every node is self-inhibited, limiting value extraction. Outside of Ethereum, things are the opposite. Another reason behind the efficiency may also relate to the elasticity and rebasing of neurotransmitters, because they change in supply at the synapse and not their quote-unquote price, which is measured in the amount of membrane potential changes they induce. Zooming out, this is one bottom-up initiative that can bring a lot of value to Ethereum through network effects while helping to make the world a better place. We'll conclude by briefly introducing the top-down intervention known as neuromodulation, which I would like to help to bring to Ethereum now that the network has successfully scaled. Neuromodulation is cutting-edge technology. At my clinic, I provide transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS, where magnetic waves travel across the skull to stimulate neurons, and this results in all kinds of widespread benefits for nearly everyone who does it. No surgery and minimal side effects. The treatment has been approved for depression as well, but due to the reasons we covered earlier, patients lose out. Literally, I've had several patients become psychiatrically hospitalized while we were waiting to get prior authorizations for TMS. This is unacceptable. So, funding would enable me to purchase EEG and EMG equipment to gather data for generating biomarkers and bringing more liquidity to DeFi, while also working with the medical community to settle TMS transactions, event verification that is, on Ethereum. We can also bring other forms of non-invasive brain stimulation, like transcranial direct current stimulation, to Ethereum, which can be administered remotely at home, also for a variety of conditions. And this intervention too confers a host of widespread benefits with minimal side effects. TDCS, TMS, and neuromodulation in general is not widely known due to propaganda in academia, as evidenced by this rebuttal to the claim that TMS lacks efficacy. In conclusion, the neuroscience of Ethereum can guide us to onboard more people and develop real-world use cases. We can model the nervous system to bootstrap a human node network from the tsunami of liquidity that can be invited by decentralizing science. Thank you for your attention.